Saturday, February 6th, 2021. We are live, and this is the best that I've actually felt in over a week. And yesterday was miserable. If you're out there and you're watching and you can hear me, make sure you're giving me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I'm not 100% sure. I started this slightly before 8:30 so that we could get people connected. It looks like we got about 10 seconds to 8:30. Yeah, hey Joe, it is the laptop mic. I'm still rearranging things, so I'm glad that everybody can hear me. And hopefully it's not actually my headset mic. So is it nice and loud, or everybody's giving me audio's a little weak today? How's that? Is that better? Hopefully it's not coming through my headset. Let's see. Oh, it looks like it is coming through my headset. Interesting. All right, so what we'll do real quick is it's the headset, and I don't know how to fix it definitely on the fly, so we'll go ahead and put the headset on. Actually, real quick, before we do this, let me say hi to everybody that's in the chat real quick. Morning, Joe from Cajoling Tech. Morning, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. Morning, Jeff. Ryan, how you doing? Bradley, Ron, Sean, Charles, welcome everybody this morning. So real quick, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, before I put the headset on, this is a pretty basic headset. It's a Logitech headset. I think I paid about $30 for it, and it's good construction. It's got a good mic. I use it with my soft phone, and one of the weird things is, if you're like me, when you work hard for something, or you have a device or something like that, you probably don't treat it like garbage. You don't throw it around. You don't, do all of those things. And I treat this thing, I think, pretty good. When I'm done, I fold the mic up and I set it over on my desk. Well, I've got a little stack of equipment over here. There's an Edge switch, and there's the QNAP router, and there's a Mac Mini that I'm selling, and then my 2.5 gig switch. And then there's this. And this is the Unify HD Nano AP. And I don't know if you can see those black scuffs on there, but literally just setting my headset on that AP has caused the finish to rub off of it. Has anybody else had this problem? To me, that is insane that the finish is rubbing off, and I was literally just setting it on there. I don't throw my stuff down. I don't treat it like crap. Trying to figure out what the heck is going on with that. So I'm using this, obviously this HD Nano in one of the upcoming videos. But has anybody else had that issue where the finish just comes off of these Ubiquiti access points without much problem? I mean, that's insane. It's absolutely insane that the finish on those can't take me just setting my headset on there. So I'll go ahead and put the headset on, and See, but here's the thing, Charles, right? I shouldn't have to worry about the finish coming off of an access point. To me, that's ridiculous. So here is the AP-AC Lite, and it doesn't have this buttery whatever finish it is that they're putting on everything these days. The stupidest thing that I've ever heard is that I should have to wear gloves to handle this access point. That is ridiculous. So that's fine if you want to wear gloves. I'm not going to wear gloves to handle access points. I don't wear gloves to handle this one, and it doesn't have that, and it doesn't get scuffed. I've dropped this thing, these AC lights, and there's no scuffs. So you can give your Ubiquiti access points the white glove treatment. I will not be doing that. I will just simply use another manufacturer. And that's all there is to it. I mean, if I'm going to have to handle these with kit gloves, I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about this morning and a short time to do it. A few months ago, Allmox reached out to me and they wanted to send me some switches. And so I'd never used their switches before, and they're just basic PoE switches. But I'll tell you, just for basic PoE switches, I posted this on Twitter, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, they um, are supposed to just work and do PoE and all that." And so they sent me. I've got them right here. Oh, we'll talk about this device as well. Um, so let's see here. Um, so this one is the Allmox. This is the 8-port PoE switch. Now, these are no frill PoE switches, right? So it's a standard 8-port. It's got a metal housing. On the back, there's a grounding lug. It uses the standard power cable that we're all used to. It does have feet on the bottom. You can mount it. What I really like about this switch is it's no frills. This was powering, this 8-port has been powering phones and Grandstream UCM 6301 since like November. No problems. If you're looking for it, just a PoE switch, and sometimes you just need that, I'm going to show you the price on this. I don't think that you can beat it. Then the reason that this one is in the box, this 5-port, and it looks brand new when I'm opening it, is because it is brand new. So somebody had told me, which was funny, that when I had started saying that I was testing these, that they had a problem with the power on one of these. And so like I said, before I was going to talk about these and show them off, I wanted to run them because I didn't know anything about them. So both of these devices were in the other room running phones. Now this is the 5-port, and you can see here that they designated an Uplink port and then 4 other ports. And it uses the exact same chassis as the other one. Here's our standard power. Here's our grounding lug. On the bottom, it's got the built-in metal feet. You can mount it. This thing was running great. I plugged in the Grandstream 6301, and this switch lasted about a day. Now, to Allmox's credit, I reached out to them, and they immediately, within 2 days, I had a replacement for this switch. Now, the downside to that is they wanted me to send the 5-port switch all the way to China for an autopsy. Now, when you see the price of this switch, you'll understand why I am hesitant to spend $50 to $60 to ship this back, right? But I will tell you, if you just need a basic PoE switch, I'm going to tell you, these switches work great. And so let's take a look here. So here is the 8-port. You've got 120 watts of PoE. It is unmanaged, right? So whatever uplink you've got this in, you're going to have to make sure that it's on the proper VLAN. You've got QoS, all that good stuff on the uplink. But $59.99 and free shipping. And so I've got an affiliate link down in the description of this video for this. Now it says it does traffic optimization. I can't really speak to that because I was just blasting voice over IP everything on these switches is what I was testing it for. I did for a moment have an AP plugged into it, but it's only got a gigabit port and I needed a 2.5 gig port. So yeah, so $59.99 for the 8-port, and then if we look at the 5-port, it's $36.99. So the shipping on my dime to send this back to China for them to do an autopsy of why it died, I don't think that I can justify that. I'm getting ready to send a UC3200 back to Synology, and that's going to cost me probably $200 in shipping with as big as the box is and as heavy as that thing is. So, but they were super responsive when this thing died. Like same day, I got an email back, and they're like, "Okay, there's a new one in the mail." So I'm going to cut this section out of the live stream and post this as my Allmox review. Like I said, here's the 5-port, and they work great. They work fine. They do exactly what Allmox says they're going to do. They provide PoE. I only had the one problem where this died after a couple months. and they replaced it very, very quickly. So they have a standard, 1 year warranty. And if you're using these every day, $36.99, and this thing only lasts a year, I know this is going to sound crazy to say this, but I mean, you've got your money's worth out of a Switch after 1 year at $36.99. So here they are, the Amox 8-port, 5-port. There are links down below. And yeah, if you just need PoE, throw this in a bag, take it with you. For the price, no controller needed, none of that stuff. What a great piece of kit for that, right? So, yeah, I can recommend the Amox Switch based on my experience with them. So, let's go back over to the comments, see what's happening in the comments. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to put the headset on because I had the sources switched, and so the mic was actually coming through here. But um, let's see. Somebody's asking if I did a review on an AP. I haven't done any of my AP stuff yet. I'm catching up on that. I got a bunch of videos to catch up on. The other thing is, you keep hearing me talk about the video for this QNAP NAS with 2.5 gig. I've been working with QNAP support. I've been working directly with a developer. Somewhere in the setup, we know it's not the Switch. We know it's not my PC. We know it's not my MacBook. But we can't get the full 2.5 gig out of this device. And so we actually think at this point that it may be my Sabrent adapter that I've been using. And here is the Sabrent. I bought this. I'm going to do a review on this. But we think it may be this Sabrent 2.5 and 5 gig adapter. So QNAP is actually sending over their 5 gig Ethernet adapter. And we're going to rerun the test. If that's not it, we may actually have some bad Iron Wolf hard drives. So it wouldn't be fair for me to throw this NAS up there when we've seen other people do a review of this NAS and get the full speed. And so we know that it's capable of that. We just got to figure out what's wrong. Is it the hard drives? Is it my network adapter? We're trying to figure out where the problem is. And I have done more testing and troubleshooting on this to try to get this right, because I do think this is a great little device, but there is definitely something wrong. And QNAP has been great about working with me on this because we don't want to come out of the gate showing this stuff off and then have there be a problem. So I will talk in the video about all the problems that I had, what the resolution was, and all that. So back to the comments real quick. Hey, Gibby, I was just emailing with Gibby. Do you think Starlink will kill the Wisp? I think that Starlink, and if you don't know what Starlink is, it's a company that Elon Musk runs. They're using low orbit satellite to provide broadband internet. I'm in several Wisp groups, and some of these operators keep making fun of Starlink and all this, and I think that's the first sign that you're afraid, is that you're just poking fun at something. You're not trying to really understand it. And what's going to happen is all of these Wisps who have terrible customer service, and I'm not going to name names, but if you feel guilty, it might be you. And the Wisps that have terrible customer service, that think they've got people backed into a corner, yeah, Starlink's going to take your customers. That's going to happen. So the business traditional models that we've seen everywhere, they're dead. They're dying. They're drying up on the vine. And so, yeah, Starlink, and it's going to be a thing, and it's going to hurt some Wisps, those Wisps that don't have great customer support. So, and Elon Musk he's not dumb. He's very smart and understands, and here's the thing, right? Now there's a lot of other competition coming into that. I just heard Amazon and Joe Trelli, maybe you can comment on this or not, but I heard Amazon is now going to launch their own low orbit satellite to do this exact same thing. You've got Facebook working with Cambium to provide Wi-Fi and stuff like that, like last mile connections. So, WISPs, if you're out there, you better step up your game if you're one of those WISPs that does not have good customer service. That's all I can tell you, because sometimes the way you make a customer feel, your service could not be as fast, as reliable. But if you make the customer feel good about it, then you're going to have success. Yeah, so Joe from Cajoling Tech just posted that the name of the Amazon low orbit project is Project Cooper. Cooper? Jupiter? Cooper? Whatever it is. I don't know. This is part of Bezos's deal. All these folks are trying to do everything in space, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, so yeah, if you don't know Elon Musk, I believe Elon Musk actually started PayPal. So, which I got a bone to pick with PayPal, right? Because they were like a consumer company, and you see this a lot. These companies are consumer, end user driven. They get a lot of success, and then businesses want to start adopting it, and they don't change their tools to really match what businesses need. And PayPal has gotten better, but some of the stuff, there's just a few little bugs that I need them to fix, like reporting and stuff when you have multiple users on an account. But yeah. So yeah, Ryan Sharp says, "Daddy Elon knows best." That's funny. Um, yeah. JD Moffat says, "I mean, in all fairness, we haven't seen how Starlink treats their customers." No, we haven't. But if you're part of the WISP groups that I'm part of, you've seen how all these other operators are reacting. I made a comment the other day on a post where somebody was literally like poking fun at this self-install that somebody did. It was sitting on a table out in the yard, but they're getting like 80 or 100 megabits down, and that's fine. You can poke fun at that, but why did that customer cancel you and then do this self-install that we are now going to make fun of, right? And I said, look, market's changing, and you, instead of poking fun at Starlink, you better be analyzing what they're doing, you better be analyzing what you're doing, and you better figure out what you're doing wrong. Because all it takes is that one happy customer. If they're happy, they'll only tell like 5 people. If they're unhappy, they'll tell 20. Isn't that what they say that is? But if you get one person that's happy with Starlink and they know that their neighbor uses your service and they think you're, not a great company, then they're going to say, "Hey, look, I got on this Starlink thing," and it's dominoes. It's the domino effect, right? So, um, let's see here. All right, let's talk a little bit about this. So this is the QNAP Q&A T310 G1T. This is their 10 gig Lightning 3, or I'm sorry, Thunderbolt 3 adapter. I get all the Thunderbolt stuff. So I plugged this in to I did it. You all convinced me. I jumped in, and I've got a MacBook. This is the new MacBook Pro M1, and I didn't go with the 512. I went with the 256, and this thing, I'm actually enjoying getting back into it. I've got to be testing Wi-Fi 6, so I'm thinking about getting back into the iPhone. We'll see. It's crazy. It's a slippery slope, right? And but anyway, I can get 10 gig. You're going to see those videos coming soon. So we are getting 10 gig using this QNAP adapter. Thanks for QNAP for sending that out. So we'll talk about that in the video. But and that is also how we know that it's not the computers. That's why we think we've got it narrowed down to this Sabrent adapter. We'll see what happens once the QNAP adapter shows up. Let's see. Back to the comments. John says, "Could you recommend an easy manual or guide about PoE compatibility? Still, it's a bit confusing when you need to select the right equipment to deploy." So besides WISP equipment, there's really not much that's passive PoE. So you can kind of forget about passive unless you're kind of in that WISP world. Most of your stuff's going to be AT, AF, or now BT PoE. So you really just need to look at your switches, see what the switch can provide, and then look at the endpoint and see what it requires. So Joe asked me, where is the "Let the Good Times Roll" sign? And it is right here, right out of reach. Make sure I don't knock my MacBook Pro off. So yeah, this is the sign that it's going to get hung up behind me. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with the wall. So as soon as I finish my, I don't want to put a hole in it. Um, as soon as I finish my UC 3200 videos this weekend, I'm filming everything for those. I am going to put the UC 3200 back in the box, get it taped up, get it ready to go back to UPS. And then I've got a table that all that gear is sitting on. That table is going to go here to the right of my desk. That's going to allow me to shift my desk backwards that way about probably 2 feet, 3 feet, which is going to give me a lot more room view back here. So I'm really going to have to spice this wall up. I may actually have to shift everything down that way too. We'll see. It's a work in progress, but I think if you've been with me since we moved in, this is probably the best that the set has looked. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Hey, Joe. So those of you, I don't know if you've heard Joe Trelli and I talk about how his wife, and him and my wife and how we're in this like weight loss competition to lose 10% of our body weight by July 5th. Joe, we were talking about it today because what happens is the loser has to buy the winner their choice of dinner in real life. Joe, I think we're going to fly out to Connecticut for this first one. And then once all this stuff like starts getting back to normal, I would really like it if Tony from Cajoling and Unky Joe and all of us could somewhere get together. Maybe Unky Joe's place in Texas. Enjoy that swimming pool, but I think we are all itching to get back to being able to have conversations face to face. Don't get me wrong, right? The Zoom stuff is right. There's this book that I'm reading right now. Let me pull it up over here on the Amazon. It's called The Ministry of Common Sense, and I'm going to pull it up. It's a great read. It's an easy read, and it talks about how during this this time over the last year, excuse me, how common sense has basically left us. And I'm about 40 pages in, and it's a great read. And one of the things that it talks about is why committees got so popular over this time. Now, if a committee is actually empowered to make change, I believe that it may not be a bad thing. But the problem that we see with committees is that often it ends in gridlock. So, the old saying is, if you want to slow a computer down, put it on a committee. I wholeheartedly stand by that. One of my most favorite sayings here recently is, when they go to hang me, I want a committee to choose the size, length, and type of rope, and then I want them to go get it. That'll ensure that I live a long, fruitful life, right? So I'm into all these kinds of books to see how other business people think, see how other leaders think, and I'm always bouncing ideas off of people all the time. And I can definitely recommend this book, The Ministry of Common Sense, How to Eliminate Bureaucratic Red Tape, Bad Excuses, and Corporate BS. You should definitely check it out. It's worth the read. So that's kind of where I was going with that. But all right, back to the comments here. Sean says, Kachkava meal replacement, no beer, lost 35 pounds. So I am, 38 years old. And I just had this conversation with a couple people the other day because this kid's like 23 years old, something like that. Metabolism's still running around 100 miles an hour. And my metabolism has obviously slowed down a little. And he's talking about how when he gets home, he drank 3 beers and he did this and he did that. And this kid is still in the same shape he was in. He was a wrestler in high school and he's still in that same shape. And I said, dude, when you get to be my age, like you look at a beer, 260 calories in a cider, those ciders that I like. And then you look at like a donut that's got 400 calories or some sort of dessert that's got a bunch of calories that you don't really need because you've watched what you've been eating all day. You've been on the treadmill. Which, by the way, I'm down like 8 pounds since we started this thing, like 8.7 pounds, something like that. So I'm feeling really good about this. Hitting the treadmill a couple times a day. But I told him, I said at some point. So for me, like if somebody's like, well, let's have a drink, and I'm like, oh, there's 270 calories in that, or I could have, a Built Bar, which is going to make me feel full and all this, and it's only got 160 calories. Like that's where I'm at in my adulting, like making choices between drinking an adult beverage and not, because I'm afraid of the calories. But yeah, good times growing up. All right, so let's see. Back to the comments real quick. Paul Wacker says you need term limits on committees. No, what we need, let's take that a step further. We need expiration dates for committees, right? So a committee is formed, a committee has a goal, a committee gets empowered, the committee has to dissolve by a certain date and have delivered the objective, right? And so in the state of Illinois, has actually, they just passed this huge police reform bill, and I'm not going to get into politics. But one of the things that they did was a super weird thing about qualified immunity and police officers. I'm not, like I said, I'm not. We're not going to discuss this any further than what I'm telling you right now. But what they did was they actually pulled that qualified immunity piece out, and they're assigning a committee to it. The committee meets in May, and they have to have a ruling on it by the end of the year. If you could set things like that on committees, I think that would be good. Yeah, we're definitely not. This is not a political channel. We're not talking about politics. All right. So back to the. Let's see. All right. There's not much. There's actually no questions in the comments, which is kind of crazy. But let's talk about this. So this is my UCM 6301. I've had this since it was beta, which has been a while. And of course, the events of last year threw everything off. Just like Grandstream was already supposed to have their beta switches, and we haven't seen those yet. Everything, because of supply chain problems, everything has been kind of pushed off. But anyway, this is the 6301. I'm super excited about this. I actually posted a TikTok and Instagram and Twitter of a brand new one that's in the box for a customer that they had shipped here that we're going to get configured. I've been checking it out. The hardware is exactly the same. So by the time that I received this beta unit, and I believe Tony over at QuickTech has one of these on the way as well, the hardware is the same. So you've got this LCD in the front and or on the top, right? So this will sit on a shelf, get mounted on the wall. On the bottom, it's got the feet. It's got the mounting holes. What do you think? Should I mount the UCM back there? I was kind of thinking about that. Mount the UCM phones, have cables running all nice. But then on the front, you've got two USBs and you've got an SD card slot. So you can put an SD card in there to do all of your backups. And then on the back, is this a 63? What is this? This must be a 6302. This is not the 6301. So yeah, I totally slipped my mind. So I've got two FXS, two FXO ports. They are now different colors. One thing that you'll notice that's interesting on the UCM 6300 series is that all of the devices now have this heartbeat port, which tells us that we're going to be able to do high availability no matter which Grandstream UCM we're using, which is fantastic. There's also a grounding lug back there. Excuse me. And the 6300 runs on a newer version of Asterisk. Let me pull up the data sheet over here for the 6300 series. So you can see this is the 6301 here, the 6302, this is the 6304, and then the 63, this one would be the 08, and this would be the 04. And the 4 and the 8 are both rack mount units. They look sexy. I need to get my hands on one. But here's just some of the stuff, right? So these will support 3,000 accounts, 450 concurrent calls on the high end. If you've not used Zero Config, it's amazing. Built-in conferencing and meetings now. They've got the Remote Connect software now with these, where you don't need a VPN. It traverses NAT automatically. The thing is with that, they haven't told us how much it's going to cost yet. So I've got the client that's got the 6301 out here. We're going to sign them up for Remote Connect. We've got another one that Grandstream's actually signing off on the HIPAA paperwork because they're a small doctor's office. So that's in the works. Um, they're both going to use Remote Connect. We've got another one that's looking at the 6300 series, but we're going to put the GWN 7000 in and do our OpenVPN solution for remote phones because of that unknown variable of how much is Remote Connect going to cost after it comes out of beta. And we haven't been given that price yet. So um, if you haven't checked out the Grandstream UCM, it is a fantastic piece of hardware. Check this out. And they actually, when we were in Mexico in 2019 for the Grandstream Partner Conference, they actually showed this they did a demo of this. These boxes have jitter resiliency of up to 50% packet loss. Try doing that with any other product. It is amazing. And that was everybody was talking about that. Can be managed through GDMS. Now, before you say, well, GDMS, that's their cloud and blah. Yeah, but guess what? They have GDMS local coming. I actually have a beta copy of it where you can manage all of your devices on your own controller. And Grandstream has to do this because of the countries that they're in. A lot of countries besides the United States actually have really good citizen data protection laws. And the laws go a little something like this. If you're a company, Canada's got these laws, Russia has these laws, a few other countries have these laws. Citizens' data cannot be stored on the cloud outside of the borders of the country. And I actually really agree with this. So what Grandstream has had to do is they've had to adapt, and they've had to release their on-premise controllers. Now, they're all in beta, but you will see them coming very, very soon. So, GDMS. And this is what we are going to build our, everybody asks us, hey, are you going to get into the MSP space? And the answer is yes, we're going to, and we're going to do it and we're only going to do it for our Grandstream phones. We're not going to do the desktop stuff. There's a lot of other people doing that, but we're going to do it with GDMS. So we're going to offer two different packages. We're going to offer the awesome ROI package that we've always offered, and then we're going to offer a package where we'll do all your updates, we'll do all that stuff. You get some free tech support, and James and I are working on the pricing for that. This box is based on Asterisk version 16, whereas the 6200 series is based on an older version of Asterisk. So these Grandstream has definitely changed the game. Now, the other question that I get a lot is, will Grandstream ever release this as a piece of software? Well, you can access this GUI through the web, right? So at some level, this is running not on a physical box. However, the official word from Grandstream on that is that they will not release this because it would upset their partners. They've got a lot of partnerships with a lot of device manufacturers. They will not release this as a software package because it would ruin those relationships. And so I totally agree. And on-prem is really the way to do that, to do this anyway these days, in my opinion. And you use a service like Telnex, which if you haven't checked out Telnex, check them out. In my opinion, they're the best voice over IP SIP provider that there is. There's a link down below. And people are like, well, what if your internet goes out? Well, what if it does go out, right? So with Telnex, we've got an option that if it loses, if the trunk loses communication with your PBX, we auto roll your phone. We're not manually doing this. It auto rolls your phone numbers to another destination. So, and I think that costs 20 cents a month. So it's really a no-brainer. Back over to the comments real quick. Joe from Cajoling asks, how did the 3CX on AWS work out for that customer? I believe they're buying a Grandstream PBX, Joe. So we'll see about that. Good morning, Mark. Yeah, QNAP has some great switches. You're going to see the 10 gig switch when we get to the 10 gig NAS. But I need to get the video out for this 2.5 gig box first, and we've been working through those issues. Roy says, Willie, please scroll up a little for my question. I'm wondering if there's any vulnerability that you can see if firewall and NAT will only deal with packets from a single IP, making RDP secure without VPN. Don't open RDP to the outside world. Just don't do it. Use a VPN. I mean, edge routers cost $49. Don't just don't open RDP to the outside world. There's really no reason to do that. I even based on SourceNet, I can't recommend opening RDP to the outside world. I just can't, because it starts with, oh, we needed this single IP address, and then it devolves into, oh, well, then the customer needed this and that, and then it's like, okay, well, we'll just we'll relax the rules. That's how this works. Everybody in this stream can agree with me that that's how this works. With IT, things are supposed to be temporary. They're supposed to be simple and secure, and then they end up not being that way, and then they stay that way forever. So just get a firewall that can do VPN, and please do VPN. Do not open RDP to the outside world. Also, if you are in the stream, 113 of you, welcome this morning, February 6th. Please make sure you hit that like button, that thumbs up button that lets the YouTube machine know you are interested in this content and that you're enjoying it. All right, so back over to more live chat. Nothing else really going on. Hey, Dale's here. Good morning. So, yeah, so Dale is a customer of mine, and he's got a little bit of time left on a time pack, and he's going to use that time to bring you all some content. So he's shipping me some Cisco router, a Cisco switch, and some Cisco APs, and we're going to do like an hour's worth of videos about how to set all this stuff up, get it all plugged in together, get it working. So everybody can thank Dale for using his time left on his time pack to create that video. So not sure when the product will get here, but that is the plan once he gets that shipped over. So as far as videos coming this week, you're going to see the the Synology UC3200. We're going to hook that into ESXi. We're going to spin up some VMs. We're going to pull a controller out. We're going to wrap that video series up and then get that box shipped back to them so I can get my hands on some other demo gear. And then I do have AP videos coming. So we're going to do the Unify Wi-Fi 6. And I will tell you, last night I came very close to ripping out my Dream Machine and throwing it in the driveway and beating it with a baseball bat. It didn't happen. Ended up fixing the problem, but it was close. But anyway, I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if I should get some mistake correction fluid and cover that up before I do the video, because we're going to compare the HD Nano, the AC Lite to this Unify 6 Lite. So we're going to compare all three of these, and I mean, you can literally see they are all the same size. In fact, if I were to just take the shiny plastic off this 6 and hold all these up, I don't know that any of you would be able to tell me what AP is what just by looking at the side profile or even looking at the back. I mean, probably using a lot of the same parts here to keep production costs down. So that's coming, and then I'm going to do a few other Wi-Fi 6 videos, and then we're going to square off this Cambium. We'll do a review on this Cambium, and that's going to square off against the Unify. And then we're actually going to square off some non-Wi-Fi 6 APs against Wi-Fi 6 APs, which will make you question why you would buy a lower-end Wi-Fi 6 device. You want to know why people are buying this? Because it's shiny and new, not because they need it, right? That's why they are selling these. That's why they're selling out. Your infrastructure is not ready for Wi-Fi 6. The APs, are only have a 1 gig port unless you go with something like the Cambium. And I am just dropping stuff all over. That's what I get for stacking stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that we got to talk about when it comes to that. All right, so back over to the comments real quick. Cajoling Tech Joe says, "Can I pay for a video?" You can send me the details and we'll see what we can work out, Joe. I don't think a magic eraser is going to take care of this. I think that this is actually it has, I believe that it has actually taken the finish off of this AP, which is crazy because this is my lab nano. This thing's never been mounted. It's never been out in the real world. Its only home it knows is it's the lab where I treat things like they're, like they cost $1 million. And I think it has actually rubbed the finish off. So that's kind of concerning. Um, but, we'll see how it works out for us. Let's see here. Um, yeah, Roy, you can go ahead and recopy your question. Mike says, how do I validate my ISP service? I get periods of slow connection, low uplink speed. So the first thing that you should do is look and see if you're having buffer bloat issues. If you're having buffer bloat issues, there's a lot of instructions out there on the internet how to deal with buffer bloat based on who your router manufacturer is. So take a look at that. And then what's going to happen with your ISP, especially if you're a residential customer? Somebody mentioned in here that there's going to be a clause in there that says you're going to get speeds up to, right? So a lot of times on a home connection, you're not going to have an SLA or a service level agreement. You're going to have a CIR, which is a committed information rate, and you're going to burst up to that. So it's all about the language in the contracts. So you're going to have to definitely check that out. Couple of web-based applications. How would you go about setting up external split DNS for public servers? Let's just say one master and one slave. Well, you just have two servers, geographically diverse, and one is transferring the records from the primary. Now, if you're doing split DNS and you need multiple DNS servers, then the most prudent thing to do would be to have two servers inside your network, or if you've got a larger network where you've got VPNs to other sites and whatever, you could have two DNS servers, one at HQ, one at a remote site internally. Then externally, you're going to use a service maybe like Google, like AWS Route 53. We use them, but Google is my favorite DNS provider externally. And then split DNS is exactly that. So the internal DNS servers contain the internal IP addresses of those servers, those applications. The external DNS has the external IPs, and that is, in a nutshell, what split DNS really is, and that's how you would handle that. Back over to the comments here. Harrison says, my Unify controller is telling me my devices have reached EOL. They call them vintage. So basically forcing me to upgrade my devices. Well, yes and no. So you could just stay on your the version of controller if it supports changes. If it doesn't, you may have to go back to an older version, but you probably will not be able to go forward with those devices. So you're going to have to check that out. Let's see here. So Roy's original question was, watched your Edge Router X videos. Made a firewall and NAT rule to port forward remote desktop for only one IP address. I have clients who would need such a feature. Rural internet and VPN equals bad. Thoughts? So the VPN is not going to add that much overhead to a connection. So my thought is, why are you still not using VPN? Unless you've actually done it and you can actually prove that the VPN is going to make this totally unusable, which I don't really see happening. The overhead for VPN is not that much. Then I guess you could lock it down to a static IP, but it's just a habit that I try to not get into. It's just like these voice over IPs and these SIP providers where I have to forward ports to my PBX. That's the providers need to let us use NAT properly, right? So we stay, and if James is on here, he could tell you, we move a lot of people off of these providers, where you have to do special port forwarding because it's ridiculous, and it's more to maintain, it's more that can go wrong later down the road. And Telnex, you don't have to worry about any of that jazz because they support the NAT properly. Yeah, so yeah, RDP, I'm not picking my nose, I got an itch there. But RDP is wide open to the internet, definitely a bad idea. All right, so there was one other thing that I wanted to show you, and I was going to pull it up. I'm having a Joe Trelli moment. So Roy says no, it's not unusable. Just adds to a bad experience all around. Yeah, so I really don't understand that, Roy. Sorry, I can't help you because I haven't, I guess, experienced that bad experience that you're talking about. So yeah, and so Michael brings up a good point that rural internet where you have to use LTE. So if you don't buy a static IP from like Verizon, it may look like you've got a real IP address, but you don't. It's actually natted. And Joe, I forgot where I was for about a half a second, and that's a Joe Trelli moment. So anyway, I just ran into this with a customer the other night who has T-Mobile. We're trying to get some VPN and things set up to manage multiple devices, these IoT devices, and nothing's working. Can't connect to it because the MikroTik doesn't have the service where we can go across NAT and things like that. And we start looking at it, and they're like, no, we've got a public IP address. Well, when you take that IP address that the router gives you and you plug it in, it belongs to the Department of Defense, right? So if you've got T-Mobile and you don't have a static IP, check it out. They are natting to Department of Defense IP addresses, which is stupid. So anyway, you got to get a static IP to get around that stuff. So Roy, if it was like a web server, if it was a NAS, if it was a lot of things besides RDP, I would probably be okay with it. But RDP is inherently has a lot of ideas and gets attacked a lot. So yeah. So oh yeah, Joe says I look like an air traffic controller. Maybe that's not such a bad look, Joe Trelli. All right. I'm having issues that the inform URL is wrong and need to get in with PuTTY to set the inform URL again. Is there a way to fix this and set the correct inform URL? Yes. So you can use the override in the Unify software to do that. We need to do an updated Unify 2021 video at some point. I'm going to let them get some of their stuff out of the way, get some of their PR stuff out of the way, let it settle down for a few months, and then we'll talk about that. I know exactly what I wanted to talk about. Let me pull it up on the other screen. Synology. We're going to go back to Synology. Locking hard drives. So the world is having some issues. And I don't know why. Because this I don't see as such a big issue. Now, here's one thing. Serve the Home, they were like a blog, and I look at their stuff. The one thing that confuses me, and I've asked them about it on social media, and I've received no answers, is they didn't get the gear here yet. But a lot of times you're going to see Serve the Home get gear. And if you are a content creator, you're supposed to be following laws, federal laws in the United States and actually elsewhere in the world that say that if you're provided gear at no charge, that you are supposed to say this gear was provided. Like, you're not supposed to pretend that you bought this out of your own pocket. And a lot of content creators that I've seen, not a lot, but a few, don't do that. They don't give a shout out and do that properly. Now, we've all been guilty of it from time to time, especially before the rules were created, but everybody should be making that best effort to let you know when that gear has been provided. And I've asked Serve the Home about that several times because I know for a fact, like when they had one of the switches that I'm not even allowed to talk about this switch because it's in the beta store, but Ubiquiti sent them this switch. It was a special video that they had Serve the Home do, and Serve the Home never said Ubiquiti provided this, right? So it was just like this weird thing, and that's just whatever. But the world's on fire because they think that we are going to be completely locked into Synology's hard drives, and that is not true. So I asked my Synology rep for an official statement, and I read it in the video that I did, and they are actually reading through the comments. So if you're worried about this, go over to this video, put a comment on it, because Synology is actually going to respond, and I'm going to do a video on it. They are going to respond to all of your comments and concerns that you voice in the. Oh, geez, this is Bing. This is why this looks like crap. So, but they are going to respond to all the comments that are in that video. So if you want Synology to answer your question, address your concerns about this whole hard drive locking business, make sure you go over and you talk about that. That's really all I can tell you at this point. Let's see. Back to the comments. Roy, can it be attacked if the firewall and NAT only pay attention to one IP address? Well, it depends. Is there a problem with your router? Like it all, there's a few things that go into that. If you're comfortable, what I do, obviously what you're trying to do is back me into a place where I'm going to say, yes, it's okay to do this RDP forwarding, but I'm not going to say that it's okay to do the RDP port forwarding. I'm just not going to do it. So you can keep rephrasing your question and stuff. You can give me a thumbs down. You can leave the channel, whatever. I'm not going to tell you that it's okay to port forward RDP, because I do not believe that it is okay to port forward RDP. I just don't believe in it. So I'm going to end that discussion, Roy. That's where it's at. So I would never give you the blessing to port forward RDP, no matter how we phrase these things. I'm just not going to do it. Trying to sign up on Telnex using my own domain. It says you cannot register. So what you need to do is, yes, Telnex is very much worried about fraud, and so they have some protections built in to protect against fraud. Reach out to their customer technical support. They have a way to verify you, and then you can get signed up with your domain. Mac Telecom Network says, I'm getting the Unify 6LR and G4 Dome on Monday. Are they sending those to you? I know that I thought I was basically getting kicked out of the Cool Kid Club. I got some videos I got to catch up on. I know that. But they're very much making some internal changes, and they know that there are creators who make like awesome unboxing, and basically what they told me is they know that my strength is not unboxing videos, but it is actual configurations in the weed videos, and so that's kind of how they see the relationship going forward. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. Mac Telecom says, do we have to add a tag to the video? I always say they provided it to me, but nothing has been paid. I usually say it and put it in the description. So Jim says, I'm in the planning stage for putting a server rack on an exterior wall in my house. Is it okay to run the Ethernet between the brick and the sheathing? I don't know, Jim. You should check with your local code enforcement to see if it's cool to do that. Mac Telecom Network says, yeah, I wouldn't port forward RDP. Michael says, just install VNC and port forward that. That's hilarious. But you know what the funny thing is there are actually certain versions of VNC that are more secure than RDP, right? So let's have a real conversation about that. So if you're using those, you'd probably be in better shape than port forwarding RDP. Yeah, so Mac Telecom Network says that he is buying those devices, which is awesome. I've started to buy a lot of stuff. Tom Lawrence has started to buy a lot of stuff, because basically when we buy our own stuff to do the videos, we don't, you can, because here's the thing, right? So if a vendor comes in, like QNAP, right? They send me this NAS. If I do not like this thing, I feel like I can't say that in a video, right? Unless I buy it with my own money. But however, just like with the AUMOX switches, I told them I was going to tell you that I had a switch failure, and I was going to tell them about the whole experience. They were cool with that, right? So QNAP, you're going to hear the whole backstory. Like the first 5 minutes of the video when this thing comes out, it's going to be about the trials and tribulations of getting this thing to transfer at 2.5 gig and what that was, right? So we just had to figure out how we approach those types of scenarios. But Mac Telecom Networks also says, no, they haven't. I bought them. I haven't heard from Unify Marketing after a few emails, so who knows? So Spencer over there, who is my media contact, he did get back with me, and he told me, they're changing things. And because Tony over at QuickTech hadn't heard back from them either, and I was hoping that nothing crazy had happened. And it turns out he's okay. The Ubiquiti is just changing the way that they're going to work with creators. So we don't know what that means yet. And let's just talk about this. Before I was ever a creator for Ubiquiti, I was huge into the Ubiquiti community, providing help in the forum and doing, videos on hardware that I did own. And then Ubiquiti decided and I decided too, that it would be nice to have this relationship where they would send me gear and I would do videos on it and stuff like that. So before any of that, I was in the forum. Now, I don't use the community that often because I believe this new software is atrocious. I still believe that it's atrocious. I believe that it squelches communication, productivity, and things like that. And so I'm not really using the Ubiquiti community that much. I go out, I check for software releases. If somebody emails me and sends a link to a certain article, I'll go check that out. But yeah. James says, FYI, if you sign up with Willie's Telnex referral code, you get $20 credit on the account. Yeah, there is, and you get 20, I get 20. It's down below. You don't have to do that, but yeah, Telnex is awesome. Is Telnex a reasonable solution as a replacement for home Vonage connection? Do they do single lines? So, Chad Baker, yes, you can take any any phone and connect it directly to Telnex. They do some light PBX stuff. They are getting more into that where they don't provide that same level that some other providers do, but I also don't want Telnex to provide all that because then maybe the prices change. I think Telnex service is perfect the way it is. And from the time we did our first video, like their rates actually got like cut in half. It was amazing. Mark says, doing a hub and spoke VPN with Unify, will this work with 6 sites? Yes, it should. So Fudge Sticks asked, how come you never really look at the beta firmware controllers in videos? So it used to be, if you go back, I used to have like this Ubiquiti Minute where I would publish like a 3-minute video, or I would do like updates on beta controllers, beta, all that stuff. Basically, as content creators, there's an embargo on anything that's early access or anything that's beta. If I wanted to get kicked completely out of the club, I could go ahead and start doing those videos, but they have asked all of us as creators to respect those rules. And so most of us do respect those rules. There are some creators that don't have that relationship, that do beta videos, beta hardware videos, and stuff like that, and I just stay away from it because I don't want any problems. Yeah, so we can't talk about early access stuff or beta stuff. In fact, one time I did a Unify LED panel video, and the developer at Ubiquiti asked me to put the video out as beta, and I got my hand slapped, and someone else at Ubiquiti emailed me and said, we need you to take this video down ASAP. The developer got the cart before the horse. And so it was like a race to get the video down. It was crazy. Let's see here. Sorry, I've got like this sinus thing happening. Rodney says, port forwarding RDP is dangerous. I suggest you use an SSL VPN client if your router or firewall supports it. Yep. Yeah, and Tony over at QuickTest says, same here. Haven't heard back from Ubiquiti. Yeah, I remember your no talking videos. Yep. Yeah, it's Ubiquiti's changing gears. They're changing gears. If you look at how they're operating, I mean, they're what? What's their market cap now? Let's see. Let's go over to the Google Finance machine, and we're going to look for Ubiquiti. Helps if Willie can spell. So Ubiquiti stock is up 7%, $3.39 a share. If we come down here and we look at their market cap, Ubiquiti is now worth almost $22 billion, whereas a year ago it was like $9 billion. So when a company hits this, now here's the other thing that you may not know, but Robert Pera, the CEO, owns the majority of the shares of the company. So I expect at some point, what I'm waiting for is the announcement that he's bought the rest of the shares back and that they are going private. That's what I'm waiting for. Now, I jacked around a couple weeks ago, and this was down to $23 a share. I had the money to buy like 20 shares. I didn't do it. I'm kicking myself in the butt for not doing it when it was down to $23 a share. So if it dips back down, I'm going to hit it. But yeah, you see Cambium's now worth over a billion buckaroos. And Cambium is one of our Unify alternatives, one of the better choices for alternatives. Back to the comments. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. Let's see. Do I have any experience with UMA? I've moved customers off of UMA onto Grandstream with Telnex. Sean Wesley, I haven't. Please repost your question as I'm looking at the comments, Sean. Unky Joe says, I got struck. Great to see you, Willie. Synology had a video of mine taken down in a community guide strike. Ooh, Unky Joe, what was the video about? Unky Joe says, I'm looking into TP-Link. They've sent me some stuff. So I've watched Mac Telecom's videos on TP-Link, and I got to tell you, I'm actually not interested in a Unify clone. And they actually cloned the same problems. And so I'm going to stay away from the TP-Link Unify clone. And they always say that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, right? And so TP-Link obviously knew if we make this thing look just like it and we drop the price, that people will buy it, and people are buying it. But I'm going to stay away from the Unify clone. We've got plenty of other excellent alternatives that we don't need to go with a Unify clone. Yeah, everybody's asking Unky Joe what the heck happened. Yeah, Unky Joe. So you all can read in the comments what Unky Joe talked about. I'm not even going to speak it, but it's in the comments. Do you know of an easy way to integrate FreePBX and Microsoft Teams? That is a question for... that is not a question for me. That is a question for James. James is my FreePBX expert, probably the best FreePBX guy that I know. He's does some work with FreePBX. We just had another FreePBX customer get a hold of us last night, so the FreePBX stuff is picking up. And actually, we're moving them off of FreePBX onto Grandstream. A lot of those customers. So, James, if you're listening, if you can talk about how to integrate FreePBX and Microsoft Teams. Let's see here. I wish Ubiquiti would sell the Edge lineup of switches to someone who would do something with them. Yeah, so if you've noticed, UNMS is no longer called UNMS. It's called UISP. If you've noticed some other products that are out there in early access, they're no longer called Edge. They're UISP products. And I can't talk about them yet because they're still in early access. So we'll see. Yeah, so Gibby, so Cambium makes small routers, like Soho routers, but they don't make like a large router that I would put in a business, unless they do now, and I don't know that. Hold on. Let's go over to the Google machine. Let's see here. I got to change the default search thing on this. Let's see, Cambium networks. Let's see. I don't think they offer, and maybe they do. I've been so concentrated on their Wi-Fi 6 stuff. Let's see here. Products. Enterprise Wi-Fi and switching. That's not it. Accessories. Maybe that's under accessories. I do have a home router that Amarillo Wireless out of Texas sent me, a Cambium. We're going to be doing a video on that. They're not paying me to do it, but they said, hey, would you mention us when you do the video? Because they sent it to me. I said, absolutely. And the leadership down at Amarillo Wireless, they're a great bunch of people. Yeah, we've got switches, access points. Yeah, Cambium, you can run the controller on site. You can run it in the cloud. So there's nothing there. I'm not seeing a router. Now, their switches will do routing, and they'll actually do dynamic routing, but they don't do NAT. So that kind of ixnays that, right? Unless everything's routable IPs, non-RFC addresses. Back to the comments. Okay, I'm interested, Unky Joe, to see what you think about TP-Link. Yeah, there are definitely some rules that I stay away from. So James says any PBX can be integrated with Teams as long as you buy licenses and you use a particular SBC. So I'm going to ask James right now to make a video And if I have to buy the hardware for it, I will. But we'll do a Microsoft Teams PBX integration video. How's that sound, everybody? Give us a thumbs up if you want to see that, and I'll let James take the lead, and I'll just buy the hardware. Oh, Unky Joe, I'm so sorry to hear that you had to put. I'm assuming that's your dog, and yeah, it's not easy to have to put a dog down. I feel for you. That's sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Somebody says Yaystar S20 or S50. I actually have an S20 on the shelf that they sent me. We started doing videos on them, and then Grandstream we had a great talk with Grandstream, and they're like, look, we want you to be like the master of these. And so we switched from Yaystar. Maybe I'll send it down to James, let James do the Yaystar videos. Hey, see you, Tony. Let's see. Yeah, it's crazy when animals really become a part of your family. You know what I mean? And it's tough. Our German Shepherd just turned 6 yesterday, and we actually just talked. We're going to put him on some joint supplements starting today. He's starting to look a little stiff, and shepherds are known for their hip dysplasia and things like that. So we're going to do whatever's reasonable to make sure that he's pain free and he's living a good life here. Now he's got a little sister, little silver lab, and she is high strung, and she actually starts puppy classes today with my wife, so that'll be interesting. Sean, yeah, so Ubiquiti and Apple connectivity issues. Yeah, it's all over the internet. Turn off auto optimize on your network. Most of the problems that we are seeing with Apple products and Ubiquiti comes from people having the auto optimize turned on. So turn that off, manually tune your APs, and let's see what happens. Yes, there is a Unify alternative, and we will be doing some videos on that. Yeah. All right, everybody's in the house. There's like 160 of you. I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, we were actually just talking about that, Unky Joe, getting the dog checked. His bill of health in November, got a good bill of health from the doctor, but definitely want to make sure of that. But I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. I'm going to head out. Got a lot of stuff to do. Got to get videos recorded, all that good stuff. And so once again, I'm Willie. If you want to use our affiliate links, they're all down below. They don't change your price, but they do kick a couple bucks over to the channel. Once again, I'm Willie. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you.